I've had people come up to me saying, my parents said I was conceived to that record. Hi, I'm MJ Cole, and this is the story of Sincere.
Be sincere. Oh, be sincere.
My musical source is classical, I'd say. Started playing piano when I was 5, annoyed my mum by playing chopsticks, I think, or what was it? Blue Moon, dunga 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 dunga. Played that incessantly. She's like, do you want to get some piano lessons? So I did my first piano competition at the Hounslow Music Festival, set piece, loads of 5 and 6 year olds playing In the Meadows, it was called, and I think there were like 2 boys, but I won. So that was the beginning of my classical journey. My dad's hi-fi was like the most interesting thing in the house for me, and he had, you know, vinyl player, kind of chrome cassette deck, and he had like an FM tuner, and I used to do the thing of, you know, recording all the songs from the chart thing, editing the cassettes together. And then I got into the beginnings of computers probably. It was like the beginning of the personal computer around then. So mates of mine had like the ZX Spectrum, VIC-20, and I think I got Commodore 64. And so I was just like playing games on that, and then discovered you could kind of do really rudimentary music making with that.
Oh, be sincere.
Decided to do a music degree. When I left there, I knew I wanted to do music. So basically I applied for jobs as a runner. I remember doing like a green sheet of A4 listing my accolades, and the last line was expert in preparation of hot and cold beverages. I was a drum and bass head, a jungle head when I was a kid basically. I wasn't interested in house or garage or anything like that. So I was following those particular labels, and of course some of the records I had were from Sour, those guys. So I think I just kind of sent them a sheet of paper. They called back and said, yeah, we're looking for someone basically to be a dog's body, you know. So I think I was on £50 a week. I remember my travel card was like 25 quid, still living at home. So at the beginning at Sour, I was just kind of making teas, coffees, doing tape copies. They kind of found out I could play after a while. I think it just happened one day, I was like, oh yeah, I'll play something on it. And they're like, whoa, can you play some more? So that's how I kind of got into the more engineering side at Sour. I started kind of running the computer, programming for people, playing. So that's how it started really, yeah. My first experience of the garage was walking through the chill out room to get to the drum and bass room. That was my first experience. So I used to go to Laserdrome in Peckham. The main room there was Mickey Finn, Tintin, Dr. Escachet, Randall, all those kind of guys. That's what I was interested in. But in order to get in there, you had to go through the chill out room. I wasn't interested in it at all. And then I came to start making that stuff because I was an engineer at the studio, and I was just put on sessions to work with certain people. The guys at Sour had a relationship with a pirate station called London Underground. So it kind of turned out that I was engineering suddenly for some of these DJs from a garage station. They'd come in, bring in their records, play me some stuff that's obviously a completely different tempo from the stuff I wanted to make. That forced me to sort of make it, and then I discovered I had a bit of an aptitude for kind of playing, and I discovered the skip, the triplet, and kind of really got into it from there.
Oh, be sincere.
So I think Sincere, the actual single, was made at my parents' house in Twickenham. There was kind of no intention behind it really. I think I got a new sample CD. I used to kind of travel around on my red scooter going to all these sessions in London. And the way to get new sounds then was you had to buy kind of sample CDs, audio CDs that had new sounds on. So the vocals on the record are actually from a sample CD. They're from 2 different singers, and there's all these tiny little bits. So I ended up, Sincere started with a keyboard full of different vocals and some other sounds, just like piecing them together. It would have been one of the first things that I did, I think, at that tempo by myself. But I was honing my craft via other people's records, really. I probably did it in, I don't know, a couple of days in my bedroom. And then because I had access to this bigger studio, I remember taking it in to kind of mix it down and finish it off one night in a studio in Dalston in Kingston Road. I remember the first recording I have of it is just like a mono recording, one side of the sampler. I think I added the ba ba da ba 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 da, that Rhodes bit, mixed it down. I did the first dub mix of it that night as well, kind of starting at 4 in the morning or whatever. So yeah, it was done a couple of days at home and a night in the studio. I like to think it translates well and it resonates with people because it came from a very true place within me. I guess as a record, it's a combination of, you know, some great vocals, very kind of simple, and very warm kind of musical backdrop, I think. And I think the kind of lyrics just fell out in a certain way and joined themselves together.
My eyes are on you. Feelings. Don't do it. Be sincere. I'm crazy. Don't do it. Be sincere.
When I finished that record, I had no particular idea that it was going to be successful or it had anything in it. It felt kind of like very true to me though, because there was no intention behind it. I was very green. I didn't have any idea about what was successful. I wasn't really interested in making successful records. I was just in the flow of making stuff and loved the whole environment of, you know, making music. I had no idea that it'd be well received at all. It was just another thing that sat on a DAT tape really.
Caress me. I want you tonight. I love you.
We went around to some of the distributors in those days. It was kind of like vinyl only then, right? Another guy called Arthur, who ran vinyl distribution out in Reading, he basically said, look, I love this record. I'm going to start a new label. I want to release it on my label. And that was the first release on Metrics. Part of then releasing the vinyl, they were kind of servicing press and radio, people like that. And I think it landed on Pete Tong's desk, basically, and he was doing Essential Music Show, and he made it his essential new tune. I think 2 weeks in a row, the majors kind of heard about it, and there became this kind of like bidding war started between them. Giles Peterson and Paul Martin from Talking Loud kind of appeared on the scene as well. So we started having chats with them. I ended up choosing Talking Loud, Giles Peterson. It was good to be in the charts. I remember sitting at a bar in Brick Lane, Truman Brewery, round there. Had like a little radio that I brought in from home with a couple of mates, listening to the countdown. And it went mad, yeah, it was like everything in the top 10 was a garage record. The majors were going mad for it. I was kind of like DJing all over the world. And people just came aboard with it.
The winner is MJ Cole!
It was cool going to the Mobos. I've seen, I think it's on the net somewhere, my acceptance speech.
What an honour. I think this is the first thing I've won since the Hounslow Music Festival when I was about 6 playing the piano. So thanks to everyone out there, everyone who supported UK Garage and future music in the future. Thank you. It's a great honour. Thanks.
By the time I was doing my second album, which probably came out in 2003 or something, garage became a dirty word pretty much. It was one guy at a desk left at the label, like Giles had gone, Paul Martin had gone. It was a miracle the second album actually came out, but by the time that came out, garage was like completely dead. I was kind of like, what am I going to do now? You know, started a band project, started making kind of like house music, just trying loads of different things. Garage kind of died this death, and I think this happens with a lot of UK genres, say dubstep as well. They're in the limelight, then they drop back down to the underground, and then they come back as having paid their dues, and they become like solid foundations, like pillars, bastions of the UK dance music community. And I think that's kind of what happened with garage. It kind of went underground again, and then people actually years later realised that it was actually a pretty solid UK genre, you know, to be proud of. And it's really nice to see, you know, new waves of kind of energy coming through. So yeah, I've been working with loads of these guys like Sammy Virgie and NPH, Parallel, just doing loads of stuff with these kind of guys, and it's pretty fun.
Be sincere. Oh, be sincere. Oh, be sincere. Oh, be sincere.
People saying, yeah, exactly that. We had Sincere playing as we walked down the aisle. I've had people kind of talking about it in a more kind of personal way, saying they were going through a difficult time and that record really helped them through. A lot of people have kind of quite visual memories or nostalgic memories of where they were at that particular time. A lot of people are like at college, reminds them of their student days. And I've had people come up to me saying, my parents said I was conceived to that record, you know, at the other end. So yeah, I've heard quite a few. It's kind of nice, really. Kind of believe that my purpose on this planet is that I make music and to communicate that with other people and for them to find things in it. So it's really nice to hear those kind of stories because it means it's connecting.